Okay, time for Joseph and Potiphar's wife. But anyway, Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. The Lord was with Joseph, as he promised, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. So even in this situation, a horrible situation that is, God still with him. One thing we can learn from this. When his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household and he entrusted him to his care everything he owned. Okay. From the time he put him in charge of his household and of that he owned, and all that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in the house and in the field. So he left Joseph in charge and care of everything he had. So even outside, before it's like inside the house. It continues even outside. So you know everything. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Now Joseph was well built and handsome, and after a while his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." Yeah, there was a lot of cheating back in the ancient Egypt. If you think this is saying something about all women or something, no, it's not. It's just one woman doing something bad. That can happen. There's people who say this is sexist because it's displaying a woman as the bad guy. And then there's what people like, see, this just proves all women will do this. No, it doesn't. It's just a woman doing something bad. But he refused. With me in charge, he told her, my master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns, he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do a wicked thing and sin against God? So, let's go back and compare Judah. What did he do? Sees a woman, think she's a prostitute, and immediately, let me sleep with you. And there's no indication that this was the intention of the woman. No necessarily indication that she said, well, I guess she tried to say yeah. But that she asked for it. No, it was Judah asking for this. And let's look at this parallel story where Joseph gets asked by a woman to sleep with him. And what does he do? No. Yeah, if this was just a myth made by the kings of Israel, that's not how it would be done. No. Joseph looks like the good guy after, well, Judah doesn't. And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even be with her. One day he went into the house to attend to his duties. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Try to avoid the thing that causes you to stumble as much as possible. Just do it. And none of the household servants was in side, she caught him by his cloak and said, "Come to bed with me." But he left his cloak in her hand and ran out of the house. Probably shouldn't have been in there alone. Joseph, you knew she was asking over and over and over again. You probably should not have went in there by yourself. You had command over the other servants. You could have brought someone in. This is kind of his fault. Okay, anyway. When she saw that he had left his cloak in her hand and had ran out of the house, she called her household servants from inside. "Look," she said to them, this Hebrew has been brought to us to make sport of us. He came here to sleep with me, but I screamed. When he heard me scream for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house." In other words, if you're not going to sleep with me, I'm going to get you in trouble. Yes, the Egyptians were very, against outsiders, especially since this happened during the Hyksos period when an outside group was ruling Egypt. Anyway, she kept his cloak beside her until his master came home. Then she told him about this story. "The Hebrew slave you brought us to... you bought us, came to me to make sport of me, but as soon as I screamed for help, he left this cloak beside me and ran out of the house." When his master heard the story, his wife told him, saying, "This is how your slave treated me." He burned with anger. Yeah, he was jealous. Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. So, let's see. First, Joseph was betrayed by his own people. Now Joseph is being falsely accused and being punished wrongly by Gentiles. By Jew and Gentile, he ended up in this situation. By his own people, the Israelites, the ancestors of the Israelites, and Gentile, he ended up in this situation. Because of both. But while Joseph was there in prison, where the king's prisoners were confined, this is the same prison where they were, obviously. The Lord was with him. He shown him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden, so the warden put Joseph in charge of all those who had the prison, those held in the prison. He was made responsible for all that was done there. So now he has authority. He gone to prison after losing his robe, after being falsely accused, and now he has authority over all the prisoners in the prison. There's beats here. Then the warden paid no attention to anything under Joseph's care because the Lord was with Joseph and gave him success in whatever he did. So even in this horrible situation, God's still with Joseph. Yes. The situation with Potiphar's wife. So Joseph has his glory taken away, was sent to the Gentiles. The Gentiles treat him badly. 2. And put him in prison. Let's see, what happened? Jesus in glory, rejected by his people. The Gentiles handed him over to the Gentiles. Or was Pilate and the Roman authorities. The Roman authorities abused him and crucified him. Yes. And because of that, both are saved. Both. Jew and Gentile are saved. Because the one who puts his hand on the offering to kill it is the one the offering is for. So, that is Genesis at chapter 39. Chapter 40. What's going to happen in prison now that Joseph is in prison? What are lessons do you think you can glean from this information? What other stuff do you think there is to know? Discuss it in the comments below. So, yeah. See you next Saturday for the next installment of this biblical thing. Deep dive thing. Anyway, so, yeah. See you then.